Hi there, and welcome to English for the Long Run. I'm Monique, your host, and I'm an English teacher, language learner, and most importantly, I'm an amateur runner who loves to talk with runners from all over the world. Every 2 weeks, I interview inspiring runners about running, life, and everything in between. If you love to run and you are looking for a different way to improve your English, then please hit the subscribe button. You can also visit my webpage www.englishforthelongrun.com for more inspiration and tips. Hope you enjoyed here, and thank you for listening. Today I'm joined by Nicole Linke. Nicole is a 38-year-old German ultra runner, writer, and kettlebell instructor. I found Nicole on the internet when researching a topic I'm very interested in, running and stoicism. And Nicole wrote an article about this on a platform called Medium, which I liked. So I decided to contact her and see if I could get her on the podcast. I Googled her and found her web, which is www.nicolelinke.com, still having in mind to ask her to talk about ancient philosophy, Marcus Aurelius, and running. But then some text on her webpage caught my attention, and I realized that it would be far more interesting to talk about her life story. So let me just share some lines Nicole wrote about herself, some very tough and honest words she put on her webpage. 16 years ago, I was lost, lonely and embarrassed, skinny and weak. Today, I am strong in body, mind, and spirit. My self-belief is strong, and instead of letting my fears control me, I am in control of my life. Wow, I read that and I thought, wow, I have to talk with Nicole because I wanted to know what happened to her. So in between those lines, there are 16 years. And in those 16 years, a lot of things happened for Nicole and changed her. And that is the story I want her to tell today on the podcast. So welcome, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's start with the beginning, because you told me that you were born in a very big family. You are the second oldest of 8 siblings. And in your blog, you write very honestly about your teenage years. You suffered bullying and you received pejorative comments by close family members. So can you tell us a little bit how your life was in your teenage years and early 20s? How did you feel?
Yes, so correct. I grew up with 7 siblings, and I was bullied at school for being an outsider, and we were pretty poor for German standards, so I had to wear clothes of my big brother. Sometimes, or I didn't have clothes that were properly washed, so I never went to the haircutters. I didn't regularly brush my teeth. So during certain periods of my childhood, there was a lot of neglect, so to say. So we had to take care of ourselves. And when you're 8, 9-year-old, you're not very good at making sure that you always have clean clothes that fit you well, that you look well groomed and stuff like this. So if you go to school like this, you are the target of other kids, of course. So that was pretty hard. And then you don't come home to a nice family environment, so to say. But I was also made fun of by our stepfather. And it was really strange because it's not like I was the only target of his bullying, so to say, but it's like he had some faults to find with everyone. So, for example, I was never really overweight as a kid, but still, I was like in his eyes, he would like constantly bullied me because I was too fat, which was
Yeah.
really strange. My sister, who's like 1 year younger than me, he bullied her for being too thin. So it's like, and so it went on and on with all the other kids. So all the younger ones are all boys. My oldest brother, he moved out when he was 16 or 17. So I was 12 or 13 by the time he moved out.
Wow.
I grew up thinking that I was really, really ugly and too fat and not worthy of being appreciated or loved. And then there was, yeah, and our mom, I don't know, like today, I think she had some, or she has some mental health struggles from what I understand now. So she was not available somehow emotionally. And also she was very angry all the time as well. And like telling us, yeah, you can't never do anything right and you don't know how to do stuff and things. So I grew up feeling completely worthless with no self-esteem. And so when I moved out was at 17. The funny thing is, I don't know if I told you before, I was like really, really afraid of people. It's not funny, but why I
Yeah.
left home is actually now I find it funny because I was really scared of even being close to anyone. Like if you would talk to me on the street or when the teacher asked you stuff or anyone, I knew the answer, but I could not speak. I was so afraid of
Yeah.
being punished for doing something wrong
Wow.
that I would just like be really red and I could not say anything. And so I actually quit school 1 year too early because I was so afraid to go on the end of school trip. I was like so afraid of the trip that I said I cannot do this. I will quit school before.
Wow.
It's now I think to myself those like I was so afraid. It's really weird.
Yeah, but when you speak about your environment, the way your family or your stepfather commented on you, and also the abandonment you felt like a young child, it all comes together. It's pretty normal that you felt scared because you were quite alone when you were so young. So you told me that you left your family very, very early at the age of 17 before you
Yeah.
quit school because you really couldn't cope with all the pressure. And you went on to live independently. That must have been a big shock for you.
This was actually the year I left school. So with
Yeah.
17, I left school, I left home, and this was like my mental state I was in. Like I didn't know really what I wanted to do. Like I didn't know what my interests were. I didn't even know like what I was good at, what my hobbies were, stuff like this. I knew I was interested in writing and in English because I like wrote poetry at home and we had it at school, stuff like this. But it was never that I said, okay, I want to do this like other people have, for example. So I went and did 1 year of it's like a gap year, and I did it
Yes.
in a forest school.
Oh, what is that? Because you studied forestry and global change management, and that is in Germany somewhere.
Yes. And so this 1 year was like you do voluntary work. And I did it in a forest school, which was attached to a forester's, how do you say, where forester works.
That's somebody who takes care of the forests, like
Yes.
a
Yeah.
guard
And
or. Mhm.
yes, and in this forestry school, it's about educating people about forests and the environment. So we did like trips with school classes in the forests and made little hikes with them and had small events and stuff. So I worked for 1 year there, and it was the first step for like becoming a little bit or developing a little bit of self-esteem because I remember when I started this year, I was terrified of picking up the phone when it rang because I was like in charge of the small school. And when I finished this year, it was actually okay. I was still nervous, but I could pick up the phone. I did not let it ring anymore. So that was
Wow.
already living this 1 year alone and doing my things alone was good development for my self-esteem. And after this year, I thought, okay, then I study forestry, even though I already knew that I don't want to work as a forester. Because in Germany, you have to do also your hunting license if you want to work as a forester, because you have to hunt. And I knew that I didn't want to do this. So, but I studied it anyway. And there already my persistence kind of showed, because I knew I want to finish this study course. So
Fantastic.
I really liked it. Also, I love nature. It was very enjoyable, and I was really, really scared in the beginning that I cannot make it. So I had no idea of like my abilities, right? So I studied like
Yes.
really crazy the first 2 semesters, and I went on to be the top students of my class, but only
Wow.
because I was so afraid. I studied so much.
Wow, but that must have impacted you in a very positive way,
Yeah,
right? And then, if I'm not incorrect, you went to South Africa in
yes,
2005. You worked there for a period of I don't know how long did you work there?
6 months, yeah. And there I started to run. So I was still like shy, but I
Yeah.
was already more self-confident, I think, from seeing that I can do stuff.
Yeah, so that
Um,
was like a little step in the
yeah,
correct direction for you. But my question is, you gained a lot of confidence living on your own and being so good at forestry and achieving small steps towards feeling more able to socialize with other people. But when
yeah,
you went to South Africa in 2005, I think you picked up running, right?
yes, yeah.
Yes. Was this a healthy choice? Was this a choice like, I want to work on my general fitness, or were you still struggling with your self-image? I want to lose weight. What was the reason for you, the main reason for you to start running?
Yeah, it still came from a place of self-hate, I would say, of not liking my body and myself. It was still, oh no, this cannot be. I'm too fat and I have to. Then I vowed I will run every day before work. And then the other things I wanted to do was to eat only fruit for breakfast and salad for lunch and have only a very small dinner when we get home. So it was very self-destructive in the beginning, also like from a mindset perspective, definitely. But like honestly, it did not take too long that I enjoyed how running made me feel, from a mind perspective, because I really felt how it calmed me down, because I'm pretty anxious. I'm like, even to this day, I'm like super, yeah, my mind is like always on. And
Mhm.
even in the morning already, when other people are like, oh, it's in the morning, I need my time to get up, I'm already on and my mind is racing. In the beginning, I hated running with a passion, like really. I could barely run for 10 minutes and I was like, oh my God, this is so hard and I hate it. And but then once it got easier, I was really proud of myself. I still remember how I said to myself, wow, I can run 30 minutes without stopping.
Yeah.
It was similar to studying, but now it was a different domain, right? Now I
Yeah.
did something that I was always being laughed at, because I almost failed schools several times after because of PE class. I was
Yeah.
always so bad, and I was made fun of this a lot. So
Yeah.
this was now something that I thought I'm really, really terrible, and it's not my thing, that I suddenly realized it's actually enjoyable and I
Yeah.
can improve as well. I still struggled the next years a lot with body image and trying to be thinner. Yeah, so this was definitely, it came from a really bad mindset, but I came to really love running, not because it made me thinner, but because of how it made me feel from a
Yeah. Yeah, there are a
mindset
lot of
perspective.
endorphins when we run.
Yes.
Exactly. What I like about your story is that, well, you independently on your own chose to study forestry and you excelled in it. The same happened with running, something very
Yeah.
difficult, especially at the beginning. you were very persistent, and you found out that running gave you also a very, very good feeling about yourself. So these were two huge steps in your life, actually. But as you said, you still had a rather unhealthy relationship with nutrition and even with your own body image. So when did you finally say to yourself, when did you have this aha moment? When did you say to yourself, something has to change?
I came back from South Africa and then I didn't run because I was injured. So I hiked a lot, which then allowed me to starve myself a lot because you can still, like, if you don't have energy, you cannot really run. Once I lost running, I don't know, I think maybe it's also like a psychological thing. So I lost this thing that made me really feel really self-confident. I just found it and now it's away again.
Yeah.
And so I struggled a lot mentally, also maybe finding myself because studying forestry was not my passion. Like I did it because I didn't know what else to do. So I lost one thing now that I was really enjoying and passionate about. And so I was starving myself a lot. I got like really, really underweight.
Yeah.
Um,
There was a time that you only were 34 kilo.
34 to 36, something like
Yeah.
this. I was proud because it was something like maybe it was a control thing, or maybe it was, I thought to myself, see, I can do it. I always thought, like, yeah, now you guys, you laughed at me because I was fat, and you see now I can
Yeah.
be thin and stuff. And by this time, when I was really, really thin, my sister, like, she would say, like, she was concerned, I know, but I didn't want to hear it because she was always the thin one
Mhm.
or the thinner one. And I was like, yeah, she's just jealous. So
Yeah.
when my family or she said something, or yeah, I don't know, my grandma or anyone who knew me, I didn't want to hear it. And I just had like a real light bulb like going off in my head when someone that I didn't knew well, it was the girlfriend of one of the guys I was living with as a student. We were doing campfires and stuff, and one evening she said to me, "You're so fragile." And this word was so weird to me. I thought like, what? I don't want
What
to
do you
be
mean with that?
fragile.
Fragile. Yes, it was
Yeah.
not in your vocabulary. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then this was like, wow. And then the thought process began, then I was like, okay, maybe I'm not really doing good, something good with my body. I saw it. Like I knew I was always tired and sleepy and stuff. But
And cold,
yeah,
I think. I mean, there's a lot of
cold
things
was,
that come with
yeah,
when you're too skinny, too weak, or too fragile. There are a lot of things that come with that. That's true. But that
yeah.
girl, she made a difference in your mind, actually.
Yeah, to this day I don't know what the difference was. Maybe because she didn't know me actually, so she was not one
Exactly.
who was like bullying me beforehand or who didn't really know me. She just looked at me and she just knew me like this and was like, "You look so fragile."
Yeah.
Like I was like, "What?"
Yeah, you didn't feel judged. And then something changed in your mind, right? You said, hey, that's strange. She called me
Mhm.
fragile. And then all of a sudden, or maybe during a longer time, you replaced your desire to be skinny
Yeah.
for your desire to become a strong woman. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's funny because in my mind, I already thought of myself as like I'm stronger now because of my achievements as a student. And then I started running and I felt really strong, like mentally, or like more strong than before, let's put it this way. And I was happy. I was like, yeah, I'm much more happy and self-confident now than back then as a teen and in my very early 20s. So I didn't see myself as fragile anymore. And when she said that, I was like, I don't want to be this. And then it was really a process, and I think it still is. And I thought, okay, I really need to gain weight, I think. And then I thought, yes, I want to gain weight, but I don't want to get fat.
Of course, yeah.
So, right? So you see, it's not like a one-off switch. It's still like, okay, but I cannot get fat. So I thought, okay, then I have to put on muscle. But of course, my body also needed fat, because if you saw the pictures on my blog, there was nothing on me. So I really had to gain like everything.
But Nicole, I have a question for you. During this whole process, were you alone or did you receive a type of therapy?
No. I was just too scared. So what I did, I started with like body weight, strength at home, and I took like water bottles, did this, and I just tried to eat more. And then once I realized, okay, I probably really have a problem, I ordered book from professionals who were actually therapists, and these books were meant for therapists.
Yeah,
So
wow. So you were your own therapist.
yeah, because I was still so shy. I was like
Yeah,
too afraid to talk about any of this stuff to anyone.
yeah.
So I had like 3 books, I think, that I read. And so I started this and I gained weight. I started running again as well. So I wasn't quite active, but I also still did not allow myself to get more than 50 kilos, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a huge problem what you're talking about. I mean,
Back and forth and back and forth.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it's a lot psychological. So when I feel good, then I also feel good in my body. And when I don't feel good, then my body is my first, or I myself am my first point of attack. And I try
yeah,
to control it by like
yeah.
restricting.
So you had a real eating disorder, which is something that affects a lot of teenage girls, but also
Yeah.
older girls, of course. And as you said, you started to develop a habit to do a crash diet or start fasting maybe, or there are girls that do self-induced vomiting or eat diet pills. It has a huge impact on the body. So
Yes.
in a way, the kettlebell came on your path and
Yeah.
it really made a difference. So maybe you can tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that. How did you stumble upon the kettlebell? And what made you feel that this might be it? This might help me.
Yeah. So I studied in a small town which is close to Berlin. And I also worked there after my studies at university. So I then eventually moved to Berlin and went there to work with the train. So I was in Berlin and I was once again injured from running. By this time, I went to a gym like once or twice, but I was so shy and still so nervous to work out in front of other people. And so I was at home thinking, okay, what can I do? And then I don't know, I surfed the internet and somehow, I don't know how I stumbled upon kettlebell training, honestly. I stumbled upon it and then it was like, yeah, it's better cardio than running. And so I actually bought the kettlebell training because I wanted to do cardio with the kettlebell,
Oh,
not
wow.
strength training. It was super interesting. Yeah. Because I thought, okay, I want to keep my cardio fitness and I want to stay kind of thin. So this is why I bought them. And I also bought a book. And then I did in the beginning only kettlebell swings. And yeah, after a while they get really boring if you only do them. It's quite different from running. I mean, yes, you get the cardio endorphins and the high from it, but it's like super for me boring to stare in one point for 45 minutes trying to do
Yeah,
a
and to be
kettlebell
inside,
swings.
maybe if you're an outdoor person, then it's hard to stay
Yeah,
inside and repeat movements. But you spoke about a book.
and
Is that a
yeah,
book of this Russian guy called Pavel Tsatsouline? I'm probably
yes.
mispronouncing it completely, but maybe you can tell a little bit about the book and how it opened your eyes.
Yes, so I bought the book along with the kettlebells. And then after a few weeks, when I had done a lot of swings or tried to do a lot of swings, I actually tried to go through the book. He has like a plan. So there are several exercises that you do, and he has like a plan. This is called the rite of passage, right? So you do this exercise with this and this many kilo for this and this many repetitions. It's divided into men and women. And once you have achieved this, you have mastered this program and you have this and this achievement. For me, I think it appeals to follow a plan and to achieve a goal. So I think this is just my personality. So I can say, oh yes, I did this.
So it's taking small steps towards a
Yes.
goal, and it's very concrete. It's a very concrete plan.
It's divided into days. So you have 3 training days and you have the plan which exercises to do. And once you have mastered this, then you go on to the next section of the book. But it's been many years since I read it, honestly.
Yeah, I understand. But you got completely fascinated by the kettlebell.
Yes, I got super absorbed in it. Also because I got kind of obsessed with the techniques of the movements because they are really technical. I've never done any weightlifting before, so I was not aware of this mental focus that it requires to do the exercises. So I was really into learning the lifts. So this was kept me going back and back and back, because I wanted to be really good at the movements. And then I just loved the feeling, like after a couple of sessions strength training, I got so relaxed, and it was like similar to running but different, let's put it this way, because like when I did the kettlebell training, I was focused all the time because I had to, in order not to like hurt my arms and stuff. In running, you like let your mind wander every now and then, but when you have the kettlebell, like you cannot let your mind wander.
No,
Otherwise
you really have to focus. Yes. Okay, so you started doing kettlebell training on your own, but now you're a kettlebell instructor. So tell us about the process.
I've been training with them since 2012, 13, 14. I don't remember the exact year, honestly. It's been like quite a while already. And I tried various styles. So there's the hard style and then the soft style, sports style. When I started, I was super confused because after I had this book from Pavel and the 2 kettlebells that were for like hard style kettlebell training.
What's the difference between hard style and soft style?
Hard style is more strength and power. So all the movements are very snappy. And it's more comparable with Olympic lifting, I would say, and strength training, so the powerlifting stuff. And soft style, sports style is more endurance type kettlebell training.
And that's the one we need as runners, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, I think you could do both. I did both actually. Now I enjoy the sports style more, honestly, because I think also because it appeals to, I don't know why, but I always want to like compete. And with sports style, I like the movements are more fluid. And it's more meditative kind of, because the sets that you do, so you do 10-minute sets of one exercise. So you do 10 minutes only snatches or clean and jerks. And with hardstyle, it's more power. So the sets are really short and you use a lot of tension and relaxation in the movements. It's more like martial arts maybe, where you have like short movements, quick. And sports style is more fluid. You learn to relax yourself while you're moving. You learn to work with your breath. So you have to control your breath, to control your mind. And I think this is very, I find it very, very appealing at this time now for me, because it's more mind-body connection in this style of training. Yeah.
So you have been working out with kettlebells while running quite some years now. And what would you say are the benefits for runners? Because, you know, we are normally quite reluctant to do strength training or to do, you know, stretching. We just love to go for a run. I mean, I'm talking about myself here, and I'm injured at the moment, so I know what I'm talking about, and I have to pick up strength training now because that's really something that can make the difference. I'm completely aware of that. So tell me, what are the benefits for runners to do kettlebell training?
Actually, for me, the biggest benefit was injury reduction. Before I did strength training, I was injured quite often. And now, 2020, I started to run really a lot. And I did my first ultra marathons. I went up in distance super quick and I did not get injured once.
Wow,
And I think, like, not even a niggle. Yes, muscles hurt after running 24 hours,
that's
stuff like
normal.
this.
Yeah.
But I did not have to take a week or even a few days off due to injury. And I think, I'm pretty sure, a lot of this is due to the strength training because I still don't stretch. uh, a lot because I
Imagine
find it
what you're capable of if you
very
were
boring.
also stretching.
Probably. Probably. So the biggest benefit would be injury reduction. The kettlebell is very joint friendly, much more than if you would work out with a barbell for strength training, because of the way the weight is shaped, because of the round handles. So you can really make it work for your unique body structure and your joints.
Yeah.
This would be the biggest benefit.
You were talking about running in combination with kettlebells. You went into ultra running very, very fast, as you just
Yeah.
mentioned. You have done some crazy running adventures. So, just to name a few, you have taken part in the 24-hour run German championships, the Berlin Wall Race, which is 100-miler, if I'm not incorrect, and you also did a backyard ultra. Wow. So,
Yes.
what is the achievement so far you are most proud of?
So far, I think what I'm most proud of is that I finished the 100 miles
That's the
in under
Berlin
20.
Wall Race?
Yes, the Berlin Wall
Can
Race.
you tell us a little bit about it? The Berlin Wall Race. We know the Berlin Marathon, but we're not, I don't think we know that well this one. Can you tell us about it?
It's a race with a very nice course, or for a very nice course. It goes along the former Berlin Wall border. And so I live very close to the border now. I walk 10 minutes and then I am at the former border. And especially, as I'm drifting away now, but in the evening when you cross the street where the border is, you always have this feeling like, wow, I'm so free. And
Yeah.
so this race goes across the former border and it's 100 miles, yeah.
Wow.
And it's always on August 13th, 12th, 13th. And there's always some kind of special ceremony. So we had to pin a card with our thoughts on a
On the wall.
memorial.
Mm.
Yes, on a memorial. Some years they put down flowers on some memorials. So it's always really nice. And it's it depends on what you're used to. It's very flat because it's in Berlin, a lot of asphalt. I am most proud of this achievement because it's one of I podiumed on a few other races, for example, in the 24-hour championships. That was very nice for me, but I'm more proud of the 100-miler. I did it in 22 hours, I think. It was my first 100-mile race.
Wow.
And I'm proud because it was kind of difficult for me to start because I have a girlfriend and we went through a really tough time in July of this year and it's still beginning of August. So it was not even clear if we would be making it. So it was mentally very, very tough and to stay focused. But we kind of managed to talk over things and be really good with each other again. And just the night before the race, we had dinner together, and then it was super nice because she supported me on the run, and I kind of ran for us as well because I
Yeah.
didn't want to disappoint. And I was so happy that we managed to go through the crisis. And in the end, I was super proud and happy that we managed to do this race because it's a long way and you have to be focused and
Yeah, you can't deal with negative thoughts when you're doing a hundred
yes,
miler, of course. So you had a very positive boost of energy at the start.
yes. And so even though we were still yeah, it was still this bit of a strange feeling between us. And I think this is why I'm super proud that I finished this as
Yeah.
well and not let it get to me and fall back into self-destructive things that I could stay focused. So
Wow, amazing. And at
it's
this
kind of
very
nice.
moment, I think you're preparing another ultra, right?
Yes, I want to do the race across Scotland in August. It goes across the southern or along the southern Upland Way. This is 215 miles.
Wow.
It's a hiking path that goes from West Scotland, from the west coast to the east coast.
How many days do you think you will be doing that? What is your idea or what is usual?
You have a cutoff of 5 days. And I'm actually still debating if I want to try to be as fast as possible or if I want to really take my time and enjoy it because
Yeah.
it's an adventure and because also it goes like hills up and down. So I want to be more conservative because I'm a flatlander. I'm not used to it. And yeah, it will be my first super long race, especially with sleep and everything. So sometimes I'm very like I have a very not really competitive with other people, but with
With
myself. I think
yourself.
that's what it
That's,
is
yeah.
with myself. That I think I want to be as fast as possible and finish like in 3 days. And I only need 30 minutes of sleep or something like this.
Yeah.
And then other times I think, no, I want to enjoy the scenery and it must be so beautiful because like in Germany, it's rare that you can be in nature for so long without seeing loads of people.
I understand your dilemma. It's very hard to say, I'm just going to enjoy the race and I'm
Yes.
not going super fast, but then you
Yes.
pin on your number and then all of a sudden you get in a different mood. You just
Yes,
want to be
exactly.
as fast as you can and you
Yeah.
forget about enjoying yourself. I mean, that's something I think we all have to work on a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe we're just wired this way.
Yeah.
Maybe once I'm older, I will.
Well, you know, I'm older than you are and it's still there. I don't know. I don't know if it works like that. Let's talk a little bit about you being a kettlebell instructor. You're a fitness and a kettlebell instructor. And I told you that what I admire about you is that you have chosen to make your passion your work.
Yeah.
You studied something else, and you already told us that it wasn't really your passion, but it was kind of your way out of a difficult
Yeah.
situation. And you've also worked different jobs before, daring to try what really felt for you the best fit, which is something with sports, and also giving back something to other women who may have had or have the same struggles you had, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Yes. I always played with the idea, even when I was still working in science, that I rather want to work as a fitness instructor, but I still was not self-confident enough to actually do it. So I pushed it away and pushed it away. And then I was working the past 5 years in a startup, which was actually quite fun. I really enjoyed the work and the people. We had such a great team. Like I met some of my best friends there. So I pushed it aside. And then it was always in the back of my mind, and I thought, okay, it would be so cool. Then, yeah, Corona came as well. Just before Corona, I thought in 2019, I thought, okay, now I'm gonna make it happen. Like, I paid off all my student loans, which I did want to do before. I thought, okay, once I have my student loan paid off, once I have saved a little bit of money, then I'm going for it.
Then I'm
And then it
free.
was like this. Then
Yeah.
I'm free, and then it was like this. I was like, okay, now I don't have any excuse anymore not to do it. So I started already in 2019, and then Corona came, and the company completely shifted over the past 2 years. And last year it was like the staff completely was exchanged, almost all of the guys. So it was not really a good match for me anymore. I felt like from a heart thing, like the work was okay, but was not my dream job, honestly.
Yeah.
I stayed like the years before because I enjoyed the team. And so I thought, okay, I can do it now. At least for 1 year, I give myself permission to try to do something that I'm really, really passionate about and that I love. and really enjoy it. I started in 2019 only with writing about this stuff, and every time like someone commented on my posts and said like, yeah, this helped me so much, or I relate to the struggle and stuff, it gives me so much self-confidence to share also my story if I can then in turn help someone else change their story for the better. So yes, and now when I'm in the studio working with women, and most of them, they are very new to fitness or strength training and whatever, and it gives me so much joy to like introduce them to it, and especially when you see them again and they're like, oh yeah, my back pain is so much better already and stuff. It really brings so much satisfaction to your life to know that you're doing something that really helps people. Really strange. I have probably this internal struggle that I'm really shy, or was really shy, but at the same time I'm super interested in people and their stories and want to help them. So this was my biggest fear, that I cannot work with people one-on-one, why I postponed the decision a little bit. But now, yeah, I really enjoy it. And yeah, this giving back, it's really rewarding.
Wow. It's an amazing story. I mean, look at you. You are so many things at this moment, and you're a kettlebell instructor, you are a fitness instructor, you are an ultra runner, you're a writer, you help other people's with their struggles. Well, I think this is amazing. If you could say something to your former self, your younger self, when you were in your 20s, what would you say?
I would probably say, trust your intuition.
Wow.
And you can do much more than you think you can.
That's absolutely true. Yes. Trust your intuition. Yes, I love that. Another question. Well, I have two more questions for you. First of all, you work in a gym where you train, I think, especially women.
Yes.
Yes. But you also are a kettlebell online coach, so to say. You offer on your webpage a 90-day kettlebell challenge for women, I think. What can, for example, if I were to do the challenge, what could I expect in 90 days to happen?
We are doing in the 90-day challenge is to learn the basic kettlebell moves without hurting ourselves, and to feel confident with the kettlebell. It's not about achieving a certain weight, or like from the kettlebell, or achieving certain standards. It's just so that you say, okay, I feel confident practicing this movement, that you gain an understanding how the basic lifts work. Because once you have the basics down, you can play around with other things, like juggling kettlebells, or doing your own workouts. This is the 90-day challenge, and that we go through through workouts together, that you can gain an understanding what the purpose of each workout is, if it's more strength focused, more endurance focused.
Oh, sounds great. It's not about aesthetics. You told me that, and I understand that perfectly. It's about getting stronger, knowing how to use the kettlebell, because I have to say that I've only used it a couple of times in the gym, but I have to say that most instructors really don't explain how you have to use it, and then it can become a very dangerous tool, especially for your back.
Yes.
So I have to say I have avoided the kettlebell for a long time because I had a very bad experience with it, and I got this low back pain immediately. It was so I think it's a great tool to work with, but you have to do it under supervision, and you really have what you already mentioned. You really have to do it with a lot of focus.
Yes. And it takes a little bit more effort to master the movements than if you would only use a dumbbell and do a couple of presses overhead or stuff. That's why, I think it's really important to take the time with a lighter weight, even if it feels too light, to practice the movements correctly and to get a feel for it, because the kettlebell is also very oddly shaped compared to barbells or dumbbells. So the weight is not evenly distributed. So this is the main thing, because this is what I see also most often in the gyms, that people like use not so good technique and then they hurt themselves. But it's also because there's not so many people actually that are well trained in kettlebell training from a technique standpoint. I would say because, it's not a standard implement that people use, especially I don't know how the gyms in Spain are. Here, lots of gyms still have the focus on machines.
Yes.
And maybe barbells a little bit and dumbbells, but kettlebell is still very niche, I think.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
It's true. Is there a book about the kettlebell you can recommend?
Yeah, it's Enter the Kettlebell.
Enter the Kettlebell of Pavel. What's his last name?
Zazzoline.
Okay. Enter the Kettlebell. Yes. You liked that book very much. For you, it was a revelation.
It was, I really loved it. And then there's another great guy, Steve Cotter. He's more, he mixes the styles, but it goes more into the sport style direction. And he has a lot of focus on the mind-body connection. I like his approach.
I think there are quite a lot of videos on YouTube. Is that possible, of the one you mentioned?
From Steve Cotter? Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
Great tips. Okay, last question, Nicole.
Yes.
Is there a book or a film or a documentary you would like to recommend? It can be fitness related, it can be self-help related, a book you really like, you think might be good for us as well.
Yes, my favorite book, or one of my favorites, is probably The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho. I don't know, I read it probably 5 times and listened to the audio version I don't know how many times while falling asleep. And because I have, it seems as if depending on where you are with your thoughts, you can always learn something about a different area of life. Sometimes it's about, fulfilling your destiny or what you're meant to do. Sometimes it's just about love and relationships. And there's so much wisdom in every page almost that I always learn something new from this book.
Fantastic. I will put it in the show notes. So thank you so much, Nicole. And I wish you good luck in Scotland in August this year.
Thank you, Monique.
Thank you for listening to this episode of English for the Long Run. If you like this episode and don't want to miss the next one, don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button. If you're interested in taking your English to the next level while listening and reading about running, don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter, www.englishforthelongrun.com. Bye for now.